stranded. 70,000 light years from home, a brand new Star Trek series was born. Caretaker launched Voyager with action, drama, and a giant banjo-playing alien. Yeah, things got weird. But was this a legendary Star Trek premiere, or just a shaky start to a long journey? Craig and I are breaking down what's great, what's terrible, and what's just downright crazy about Caretaker. Let's set a course for the Delta Quadrant. And welcome back to the latest Good, Bad, and the Other Thing, which is a bit crazy. And this time, as we can tell by my uniform, we are talking about Voyager. Different from last week's uniform because it's a different badge.
Yes, we're post generations now.
We are indeed. Well, Voyager, what we got to say about Voyager?
It's a big show, and I think our UK view on it is a bit skewed compared to the Americans' view on it, purely for the fact that over here it was just it was more Star Trek, a continuation on BBC Two on a Wednesday night, stuff like that. Whereas in America, Voyager was a big thing because it was a flagship TV show of the launch of a new network. Going back to the Paramount wanting to launch their own network back in the 70s, they finally did it with an amalgamation of smaller channels throughout the States to make their own United Paramount network in 1995, and Voyager was the lead show.
Yes, I'd forgotten about the whole UPN stuff. Yeah.
So it had a lot more pressure on
everywhere.
Yeah, I mean they had so much pressure on themselves for the launch of that show because it was every single Paramount executive, wanted that awe in it, but they trusted the team behind obviously Next Generation and DS9 to come up with a new show, and this was just as Next Generation was finishing, as they were dismantling the sets of Next Generation, they were building the sets of Voyager straight on top.
They were, funnily enough, I've got that as a note. Yes, parts of Voyager's bridge set built over the existing Next Gen set, and part of the engineering set was from the Defiant from Deep Space Nine. Yes.
But, I mean, to be fair, they'd started working on that even before Next Generation was finishing because it had been in development for about 2 years before launch. And, were they going to the well too many times? But, it was Star Trek was at its peak production time because it was like 1994 to 95. You had Next Generation films, Deep Space Nine, Voyager being prepped. Hell of a lot going on.
Yes. Did you? So when it came out, like I said, we were well into Deep Space Nine at that point, and the Next Gen, and so it wasn't. You had the movies going on as well, so there wasn't anything for us in the UK, at least, particularly special about another Star Trek series. It was commonplace at that point. But
we were excited for it because it was more.
Oh, I mean, any new Star Trek is good Star Trek. That's a good thing to have. But do you remember sort of any... Where am I going with this? So, no, I'll rephrase this. I remember hearing the name Voyager and wondering if it was going to be a spin-off from the motion picture.
I never thought that. I knew because at the time I was still buying all of the the science fiction magazines like your Starbursts and Starlogs and stuff like that. And they were usually quite good at keeping you up to date, better than the official Star Trek magazines. So I knew what was coming, and was really looking forward to it. And what they did with Voyager, similar in the UK, is what they did with Deep Space Nine. Is you had them straight on video cassette, not too far behind the American broadcast release. So you didn't have to wait, a year to 2 years to get your Star Trek fix. You were only ends up being like months behind America because there's your 9.99 VHS who are beating down the door at the HMV on a Monday morning to pick up your Deep Space Nine and your Voyager VHSs.
I think I was getting mine from Woolworths at the time.
I've got a few hours MVC at the time. Yeah.
I think Woolworths were giving away a cardboard thing that you put your entire first season VHS tapes into.
I mean, if you think now, it's like what our walls used to be like with VHS copies of Star Trek on. There's hundreds of the things.
And taping them off the telly as well.
I didn't go that far.
I think I've still got VHS tapes with episodes of. Yes, I've got one with the shoot on it, which is a terrible.
Over 30 years later.
Oh, dear me. So, one day, we might do a ranking of series from best to worst. But as a ballpark for now, where does Voyager come into this for you?
Mid-table. I think it had more potential and it squandered a lot of it.
Mm.
And I think the show could have been braver and it could have been a bit more cutting edge, but it ended up being very beige.
Mm.
So, I mean, don't get us wrong, there were some absolutely fantastic episodes throughout the 7 seasons of it. It's got some of the best episodes of Star Trek throughout the series of it.
Yeah.
But as a whole, I don't think it's a very, very strong series.
Mm.
I enjoy it, but it's not one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it absolutely. This is one of my least favorite series, though. Like for similar, like again, I didn't. We were talking about, off a little bit about Andor, and in a similar way, where I don't like Andor because the character just doesn't click with me for some reason. It was similar with Voyager to start with. None of the characters really leapt out at me or seemed particularly special, even though I know a huge thing was being made of it at the time. The first time we get a female captain in the, as the main character.
Lead, yeah.
Obviously not the first time we had a female captain in Star Trek, but yeah, as the main character at least. So that was quite a thing. And of course it nearly wasn't Kate Mulgrew.
Yeah, but we'll dive into that in the good, bad, and bad.
Okay, right. Interesting that that's in there for you. Well, let's dive straight in then. What's your first good thing about Voyager?
Well, I'm actually going to mention the cast. I'm going to mention. Oh, do you want to do the quick introduction of the?
I nearly forgot the 60-second synopsis.
I'm just going to do a few seconds synopsis here because otherwise with this you can go on forever.
A few seconds. No, I'm going to start the actual proper countdown. Here we go. Your time starts now.
While hunting for a missing Maquis ship with a missing crew member on board, Tu-Vix, newly commissioned Starship USS Voyager under the command of Captain Janeway chases the said Maquis ship into the Badlands, and then they suddenly get swept away into the Delta Quadrant more than 70,000 light years from home by an incredibly powerful being known as the Caretaker. Can they get home?
Okay.
I don't want to
40
start going on about all
seconds.
the other stuff because we're going
That's
forever.
40 seconds. That's really good. Okay. Well, got that there then. That's really good. And no, they
So
don't get
my
home in that episode.
no, so my first good, and I will actually say the cast, but only I'm only gonna specifically say Kate Mulgrew here because she nails Janeway out of the park in that first episode. Now, if you've seen the footage, I mean, I think everyone's probably got it. It's around on YouTube and it's on the extras and stuff like that. With Genevieve Bourgeot, she was awful. She just, there was no way that she was going to be the lead of a TV show. And Rick Berman had said from the start, she's not going to work. Jerry Taylor and all the rest of it wanted to give her a go. It's never going to work. Kate Mulgrew, she'd already came in, she'd already auditioned, but she was, gazumped by a Academy Award nominee. But she came in and knocked that out of the park straight away. She had the authority, she has the compassion. I mean, even the scene in the first episode about where she's talking to the lost love back at home, Mark, talking about her dog being pregnant and stuff like that.
Mm.
Got the vulnerability there, but without being simpering and without, with Jerry Taylor, being a showrunner given the female perspective. So just not bad writing. And I think Kate Mulgrew has been and is by far all the way through one of the best parts of Voyager. I cannot fault her at all.
Okay. I'm gonna disagree ever so slightly with one of your statements about her being the only one in this that was good. But I'll come on to that on a different good. But my first good then I'll tie in with that. Less Kate Mulgrew, but Janeway as the
Yeah,
captain. Strong, decisive right from the off. The decision to destroy the Caretaker's array has been picked apart on the internet for a long time now, but it established her as willing to make the hard choices for the greater good,
yeah.
which I thought was really good. So yeah, my first one then, very similar to yours. Yeah, that's good. What's your second one?
The second one is I'm going to be not so much generic with it, but I think it has got next to Deep Space Nine one of the strongest opening title sequences and music for a show. It is beautiful. If you look at the opening credits of Voyager and you look at it back in, put your 1995 eyes on it,
Yeah.
it's absolutely beautiful. And it links with the whole aesthetic of it. The production design of the series flows perfectly from the next generation. The bridge design, and everything like that works. But I think the visuals, the production design, the music, everything is top notch Star Trek.
Mm. Yes.
And we all love Jerry Goldsmith. So
Yeah. Yeah, I won't dispute that. I think for me at the time, the theme music felt a little slow and plodding. I think that was my reaction back then, but I've come to really appreciate it since. Yeah, good call. Good call. We're going to mention the planets being out of scale ever so slightly in the opening
I mean,
sequence.
ever so slightly, massively out of scale.
I mean, these are planets that are what, a couple of kilometers across. Um,
Yes, they're all
by the
micro
size of
planets.
the ship. And
Either,
it looks,
either,
I mean,
either,
it's, yeah.
either that or Voyager's the size of Babylon 5 or something,
Yeah, that's no moon. Yeah, fantastic. Um, okay, my second one is the high stakes that it launches straight in with, setting the ship being stranded 70,000 light years from home. Um, it's an incredibly compelling setup straight away because you've got, but we're all familiar with Starfleet and the Federation at this point, but here's a ship that doesn't have that backup. They're truly on their own in this strange new world.
Yeah, that's my number
Um,
3.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. Say that was my number 3, and my note that I've put in there, I've put an almost Scotty quote. Says it's going to take you 70 years to get home, but I'll do it for you in 7. Yeah, I think it's yeah.
Oh, nice.
I've put that as my third, but I think it's definitely a brave move to put yourself in the position, even just as a production of, at least, with Star Trek, yes, it's supposed to be Brave New Worlds and you're going to see something different every week. But with the Star Trek universe becoming as familiar as it is between Next Generation and DS9, to go and say, right, we're going to, wipe the slate, we're going to put it in another part of the quadrant, a different one, and then you've got to make your way back and to see how many new aliens and how much new material they've actually got to push to without trying to alienate the audience who like a bit of familiarity.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
was definitely a brave move, and especially for a network show rather than something that didn't necessarily live or die on its weekly ratings.
Mm. Mm. Absolutely. I'm going to go off on a slight tangent now, but this concept of being stranded across the other side of the galaxy, being the absolute geeky nerds that we are, do you remember the Choose Your Own Adventures
Yes,
books? Ian
yes,
Livingstone, Fighting
yeah, Titan
Fantasy,
Fantasy and that, yeah.
kind of things. There was one called Starship Traveler
Okay.
that is basically the exact plot of Voyager. And I just wondered if the showrunners maybe had read Starship Traveler. Um, Maybe
Did you ever
borrowed.
get the Star Trek Choose Your Own Adventure book?
Yes, yes.
The little
In fact, I've done
paperback with
live
the Kirk period
streams.
one.
I've got three of them. Two from the original series, one from the movie era. Yeah, I've done live streams where people have put in and suggested which option should be taken, and I've tried to do the voices with it as well, but I did them very badly. Um, yeah, so my third good is where I dispute your first good, really. The Doctor.
Oh yeah,
Bob
sorry. Yeah.
Picardo absolutely steals the show. And in the same way that you said, Kate Mulgrew came straight in, established the character, knew who she was right from the off. Absolutely, you get that with the Doctor, I think, as well.
He's a doctor, not a nightlight.
And he kind of, to me, even overshadows the Captain in terms of fan popularity from the off.
Yeah. And the fact that he's coming into Academy has got us all salivating because he's going to steal it.
Yeah, isn't he just though? Isn't he? And it's great to create that sort of bridge as well. Mm.
Definitely,
Mm,
definitely.
fantastic. Well, that's what we liked. What didn't you?
The flipping Kazon. Oh my God.
It's my
They
first one
are
as well.
they are the surfer dude versions of the Klingons.
I
Uh,
think of them as Klingons that you've got from Wish.
yes, yeah, yeah. They as a I think one of the real bad ideas of it that could have made them work a bit better if that didn't make them look like Klingons from Wish. They've just got too much of the bubbly forehead hair that it just yeah, and there's just the idea of like having cabals and stuff like that and being factions and ju- it just they were just a really, really rubbish bad guy. You didn't feel threatened by them. Yes, I know they developed them later into the series, and they did get a little bit better throughout and all the stuff with Seska and stuff. They did develop it a bit more. But the way that they're portrayed in Caretaker, I mean, it's not as bad as the Ferengi's first appearance in Next Generation, but it's as a bad guy on the off, they were just a bit wet. Funny enough, they couldn't have water. Or didn't have water. It
Yeah.
couldn't be that wet.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the same as my first one. It's like if you got if it's the secret love child of Klingons from Wish and Mad Max Raiders from Timu.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're not a good choice. Not a good choice. Yeah. What was your second bad?
My second is a very, very petty one.
Ooh.
And in when the ship, got through to the Delta Quadrant and killing off the characters, they killed Stadioff, who and now the reason I'm pissy with that is because the actress Alicia Coppola is brilliant
Hmm.
in other things that she is in. And it would have been great to have a proper Betazoid character in the series who wasn't um, the counselor or anything like that. It could have set up some really good because you've got somebody who's stuck on the ship with them who is a proper telepath who could really be like, how would you cope if you are a telepath at a ship where you've got the Maquis and the Federation crews? You would have the conflict. You have somebody there who's got all this going into her head. It would have been brilliant, and I think she's a great actress. She was one of my favorite characters in a TV show called Jericho, which came out a few years after this, and she was one of the best characters in that series. And I think if she'd been able to keep on to Voyager and they developed that character there, would have been absolutely fantastic. But I'm a big fan of the actress as it is in any case. So
Yeah.
so
It
that's my complaint.
No, I think that's a really, really good call. I mean, of course, they had to make way for Nick Locarno as the pilot. Sorry, Tom Paris. They look very much alike.
Yes, quick sweep it under the carpet.
Yeah. Q comments in below saying, "I'm not seeing it." Um, yeah, that's a really good a good call. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's a telepath. It's like him over there is planning insurrection, Captain. Yeah. Mine is it's not a dissimilar one from one I had for Deep Space Nine. Um, you get a lot of characters thrown at you, and so many that we're not able to see the depth of the characters enough. Chakotay, Kim, Neelix, Cass. You're not getting enough of them. They're trying to sort of establish themselves really quickly, which then comes across as too heavy-handed. It's better to sort of drip feed characters in, I think. Establish your main characters first, like your primary characters, then introduce your supporting characters as episodes go on, rather than just like, here's everybody all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the introductions in this aren't as clunky as the next generation ones in Farpoint. But
I
this is
agree
more
with
of an
that.
act. This is more your Mackey and stuff are all introduced in an action point of view.
Mm.
Fighting Gulivek and the Cardassian the Obsidian Order. He's not part of the Obsidian Order. He's just part of the fleet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But like even Chakotay seemed one dimensional in Caretaker.
but to be fair,
Sorry, that's a little in joke for myself there because I kind of feel that Chakotay in general was one
Yes,
dimensional.
yeah, he's
My people have a saying.
not a great character, and not a really well defined character, and it is a bit cheesy and the whole Native American stuff. And I think Robert Beltran never had a great time in the
No,
show at all, but he's
he
a funny
hated
character.
doing it. He is not one of my favourite people, it's fair to say. Um, yeah, yeah. And he put the icing on the cake during the actors' strike when they weren't allowed to talk about Star Trek, of talking about Star Trek publicly. Anyway, right, yeah, moving swiftly on from him. What's your last band?
Hess and Neelix's relationship just never bought it for a minute. That these two characters are lost loves, are in love, madly in love, and things and stuff like that. It just, I mean, Neelix, for the character that it is, Ethan Phillips is great as Neelix, but the character for me is just he's more cheesy than a full bloody cheese board on top of a cheese board. It's just,
Mm,
but I think that just the relationship with Kess and Neelix, it just never worked. It never rang true. The fact as well, and the fact that he's supposed to be some wily trader, and he just I don't know. It just doesn't work for us. And she's this ethereal person who, she's a mayfly. Her life is so short, so she should be that character shouldn't be that ethereal. She should be a lot more intense. You've only got like 7 years to live. You're gonna have to live your life to the most. And I think the Ocampa are a really potentially interesting species, but it just the whole thing's just not thought through that well or not executed that well.
yeah. I felt very much with Kess, they were going for a Jadzia Dax type character. This is somebody who's very wise and very centered, and I get what they were going for with their relationship in that she could see beyond Neelix's sort of bravado and
Yeah, yeah.
into the depth of his character. But yeah, Ethan Phillips is fantastic. Neelix, yeah, not brilliantly written. I'm I'm going to mention as well. I know a lot of people see the whole age difference thing with Neelix and Cass as being very problematic.
But she only lives for 7 years or something like that. So it,
Exactly. Um, and I've heard the same people criticizing that. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be questioned. I think being questioned is good. But then nobody questions um, humans lusting after Spock or T'Pol.
oh, okay. How come with Esri Dax getting together with Julian Bashir at the end of Deep Space Nine? How big's that age
Exactly.
difference?
Oh, yeah, hundreds of years. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's when you do hear people talking about the problematic aspects of it, which is a valid observation. I think, let's look at this in context of other imbalances within Star Trek. And it's I think they were just going for an alien species that was just like radically different in that regard. And yeah, it was possibly a misstep, but I don't think the intention was like, oh look, older man, younger woman, that's fine. I don't think that was
No,
the
that wasn't the
intention
intention.
behind
No,
it. And a lot of people, we know that Rick Berman is problematic, but I honestly don't think that was his intent. Really.
no, no, no.
Just want to, I feel better now. Got that off my chest. Okay. My last bad is a character one as well, but it's Tuvok.
Okay.
Not the portrayal of Tuvok, but he's got nothing to do in Caretaker. Utterly underutilized. He's just there to be
Rescued.
stand alongside, well, to be rescued. Yeah, he's a
He's the
plot
damsel in
device.
distress at the start.
He is yeah, utterly. But he's there as Janeway's like just his her right hand man. Um, he's there just to stand at the side of her and say, "I agree with your decision, Captain."
Yeah, I mean, apart from, if you take a look back, if Voyager was done without necessarily like the Maquis angle with it, it would have made more sense for Tuvok to be an exec, her mentor, somebody who she's known for years, but is her subordinate. But again, that's getting into well, not even the Kirk Spock relationship, because Tuvok and Jane, we've got a different kind of relationship, and that the older friends.
Yeah. Mm. But yeah, that was it. Yeah, it just felt underutilized. There we go. But now we're on to what we found utterly weird about Caretaker.
But well, my first thing is more to do with a lot of the concept of the series, where they actually thought in the pilot and in the original Bible, here we're going to have two crews on one ship, and that one we're going to make drama out of that. Yeah, that was never, that's just vast idea. And how fast was it dropped? Because the logic being is, if you're in such dire circumstances, you're not going to have the grown-up conflict, because you've got to mold together to get the job done and move forward. A lot of it was just glossed over too fast.
Mm.
And I think if you're gonna have the concept of two crews on a ship, and it's gonna take a while for you to integrate and you see it develop to become a crew, then do it. But it's Batshit to try and say you're gonna do it and then not. And
Yeah.
then suddenly
I
everybody's not perfectly happy families, but pretty much happy families, and going into the Starfleet chain of command
mm,
straight away without any proper dissent.
yes. I know they tried to sort of redress that a little bit. There was that episode where you've got basically the lower deckers crewmen from the Marquee, and Tuvok has to sort of train them all, and they
Yeah.
all learn the value of teamwork and
Yeah, I mean, there's also the
like
episode
that.
where they find the holodeck program of the insurrection.
Oh yes, yes, yeah. That was a fun episode. Um, yeah, I think yeah, I think it gave them some good storylines. I mean, you wouldn't have had Lon Suda were it not for the McKee crew. Um, so I can
They
see.
should have had the courage of their convictions.
Yes, yes. Okay, my first strange one is the caretaker, the banjo playing caretaker.
That's my next one.
I mean, I get, it's a simulation from their homeworld that might make them feel a bit more, but it pivoted the whole seriousness of the moment, and made it just feel like really surreal.
Yeah, so let's have a hoedown kind of thing, and let's get out with the southern drawls and the homemade lemonades and all the rest. That kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. With Kim and Paris being taken to the barn by attractive young farmhand lady. Um,
Well, when what happens in the Delta Quadrant stays in the Delta Quadrant.
yeah, yeah, that was going to be an interesting moment, I felt. But yeah, that's my first one. So that was your first one as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
My
your
second one.
second
That was
one.
yeah. Because I had written down yeehaw.
Excellent, excellent. Well, my second one is the crew don't seem that bothered about being stranded 70,000 light years away. They take it really easily in their stride. Um, Nobody's freaking out over it. It's just, okay, well, time to get to work.
You would think as well in that kind of situation, and it's also not just the fact that they're stranded there, but quite a lot of the crew were killed
Mm,
in the first half an hour. So, your first officer, your doctor, and your helmsman, stuff like that. So on your first mission, there's a lot of people dead. And
yeah.
so you got the trauma of that and the trauma of being far away from home on the ship's first mission.
Mm,
And they've got no counselor on board. Yeah, that's a ship that needs a counselor. Whereas did the
yeah.
Enterprise really,
I think so. I've sort of my answer to that in my head is well, the Enterprise was a ship with a lot of civilians. Um, and certainly my experience of military people is that they don't tend to like counselors and things. Showing emotions. Oh, that's my experience of ex-military people, uh, who I work with quite a lot, and thankfully don't watch this. Uh, but yeah, I can see why Voyager didn't necessarily have a counselor, or maybe the Doctor doubled as a
but
counselor, or
as something for a series moving forward, where with the next generation, and even be it something like with Deep Space Nine until he got into like the wartime,
mm,
they didn't really need a counselor. But this show, if they actually had the counselor would have had a lot to do.
yeah,
And you could have seen they could have got deeper into the characters and into their backstories by using a counselor and show how yes these people are strong and they're coping in the Delta Quadrant, but at least show them having wobbles and having thoughts about missing home and stuff like that, and then being able to talk about it to somebody. Then it would have just where you've got such a depth of the characters in Deep Space Nine. This could have helped deepen the characters in Voyager.
mm, yes, yeah, yeah. I can I can see that. Um, well, my last.
I haven't done my last one
Oh,
yet,
hang
but you
on.
can do
No,
yours first.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, you do
Sorry.
yours
No, no,
first if you
no,
want.
no, 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 no. Absolutely, it's your turn. Sorry, I.
It's because I jumped on the end of yours.
As we
Right.
do.
My bat thing of the third one goes back to the Kazon. And how can they be a spacefaring race who have got such technology? I know they don't have transporter technology and stuff like that, but water is such an issue.
Mm,
You can't tell me that, knowing space and knowing how good the scientific advisors in Star Trek are, that how much water is available in the universe on
yeah, just
asteroids or on
go to a planet with water.
yeah.
It's not difficult.
And it's just crazy to make that a thing. Crazy
Yeah,
to make
I
that a
mean,
thing.
they they clearly wanted to
Pepper.
highlight here's technology that we take for granted that other species that we're not familiar with would be incredible and magical without totally breaking the prime directive. Um, uh,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, it was a weird one.
And what a
Absolutely.
surprise. Pepper decides that she wants to come and see her.
Quite right to we're going to have the Pepper fan club on the channel.
Oh, we've got it. We've got it on Planet Marzipan.
Fantastic. Okay. So my last one then is Kess and Neelix just being accepted so readily. They're here in this strange part of space that they've never encountered before. They're stranded away from home, and suddenly these two
people arrive and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." I mean, even Neelix basically co-ops the crew and lies and tricks the crew into going and saving Cass, but people are still, "Oh, that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
part of the
and
crew
the fact,
now."
yeah, yeah, the fact that they're part of the crew now, and she's only got 7 years total life, and she's about a year old or something in this. So there you go. That's quite happy. You live your entire life on this starship, going somewhere that's got nothing at all to do with what you really need
Yeah,
to do in life.
yeah. But he could have been a spy for an alien species, or yeah, yeah. But he's just accepted. Oh, there we go. Anyway, and we haven't mentioned my two favorite things when talking about Voyager.
Come on then.
Well, one of them I've no doubt you can guess.
Well, I'm going to go 7 of 9, but that's
Oh, no, no. I mean,
that's
seven's
going back
great.
later.
Jerry Ryan's fantastic. No, Tu-Vix is a favorite
Oh,
topic of
yes,
mine.
yeah. Is it murder or is it not? Uh,
Well, I mean, let's not go into the fun death, but out of interest, which side do you sit on?
um, I'll be controversial and I'll go with Janeway's decision.
Okay, I go the other way. So no, he's there anyway. No, no, no. I won't go into the reasons why, but yes, I'm on
But
those.
no, Voyager does have some of its some brilliant episodes, and it's got
Yeah.
some real high points in it, and it's it's a worthy watch. It might not be my favorite, but and to be fair, it's a bit like Next Generation. If I go through it, I'll not watch every episode of it.
Mm,
Whereas with Deep Space Nine, I pretty much will.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think Voyager. I don't think there's any episodes that I skip. Even the Salamander episode. Mm.
Quick, go to Warp 10.
I thought that got nominated for an award. Anyway, but my other thing, just I like to do as a throwaway phrase, which is Captain Janeway, for whom the phrase "I'd kill for a cup of coffee" is not just colloquialism. And she did rack up quite a head count.
Yes. She
But
really should have been called Captain Killy, shouldn't she?
yeah. Absolutely. But there we are, viewers. That's our picks for the good, the bad, and the weirdly wonderful. Let us know whether you agree with our choices, whether you disagree, what we might have missed out, that we
Lots.
should have had in there. Oh, there's a deep well to choose from. And let us know in the comments below what your view on the Tu-Vix dilemma is. We really want to hear that. The fact that we're still talking about it 30 odd years later, I think is testament to how brilliant the writing is for that episode. But there we go. Join us next time when we'll be doing another good, bad, and that other thing. We're avoiding swearing on the channel. But yeah, join us next time. In the meantime, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper, guys. Take care.